Let me take just a moment to introduce you to Josh, if you've not met Josh yet. Josh heads up our professional services team worldwide and reports into me. He's kind of watching the chat for me here. So Josh, if anything comes up and you want to ask a question, feel free to stop me. I'm happy to take any questions throughout. But today we're going to talk a little bit about ProductBoard, in which you may not know what that is, but we're going to take a look. I will promise you that there are not very many slides either in this or the other session. We're doing a little bit, but there are a couple. So let's start there and talk about the future of FileWave, or at least how we're planning it, how we're looking at features, what kinds of things we need to do, what types of enhancements we need to make. And it's very complex, right? So the thing we're really always asking ourselves is, what's next? And that seems to be a simple enough question. Well, of course, we just make FileWave better and we just add features. But the problem's not that we don't have a list of those things. The problem is we have a list that's infinite with finite resources. So we find ourselves in a situation where we're trying to decide what the right things to work on are, with infinite choices. What are the right things to spend our finite resources on? And so we end up with a lot of, well, we could work on this or we could work on that, and which one of those things does it make sense to work on? So we're constantly trying to make those decisions, and we have almost 2,000 enhancement requests in our backlog currently. So we have a great number of enhancement requests. That doesn't necessarily mean that they are all good. I assure you they are not all good, but at least a few hundred of them are actually really, really, really good. So what we need to do is to define the priorities and the things that we want to do with the product as we go forward. And so we need help prioritizing, and we need your help prioritizing, but we also want to make that easy, or at least easier than it has been in the past. So just to give you an idea that we have an idea of some great things that we could be doing with the product. This is a list of, I say our favorites here, but really this is a list of some of my personal favorites in the list of enhancement requests. And you'll get a chance here momentarily to give some of your feedback on these as well. But these are in no particular order. And I do want to clarify that we're not working on any of these. This is just a list of some of the things that are in that backlog that I would love to work on if we could. So the first one that I'll mention is real-time ad hoc script execution. I'd love to be able to click on a device, right-click on it, say execute script, paste in a script, and have it run and give me a result back. Right? That would be an excellent add-on to the product. I'd love to see the ability to view any text file, not just the client log, but hey, maybe that Windows update log, or maybe the system log. We have a mechanism for seeing the log files. It'd be great to expand that to some other solutions. Actions. If we do this, then I want this to happen. So if I see that a device gets jailbroken, then I want an email to go to such and such a location, or I want, if a machine runs low on disk space, then I want an SMS to go out, or maybe I want a notification to go to Slack, maybe I want a notification to go to Teams, right? I'd like to have actions like that. Or if this happens, set this custom field to a different value, which puts a device in this other group, and yada, yada, right? So there's all
Tony,
sorts of things.
I hate to interrupt you. Were you sharing? Because, okay. I wasn't sure if you were speaking to it or if you were at the point where you're sharing yet, because you weren't sharing.
Yeah, hold on. Quick.
But it sounded good.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I'm not the only one. Thank you, Tony.
All right, there we go. How about now? Is that better?
It's in not the present mode. You can see the slide in the left slides too. Okay, Now it's in present mode.
All right, cool. All right, thank you. So yeah, this is what that looked like, what I was talking about, if you will. Right? So we're talking about things being difficult and lots of choices, and all these things are still true. While I was presenting this, we didn't get any of this 2000 done, just so you know, right? Because most of the people are here listening to me ramble on with no slides behind me. So anyway, we need your help to prioritize this stuff. And so some of our favorites, as I was mentioning, are that script execution, the ability to view text files, the actions, an expanded list of client commands. I'd love to be able to right click on a Mac and say restart, or on a Windows device and say shut it down. All right, those would be good things to be able to do. Integrated third-party patching. I can't tell you the number of times I've heard that request, and then the number of times I'd like to see that happen myself. And then things like end user communication, just working on making that better, showing installation progress, showing messages to the user, kind of ad hoc messages. We've had seen issues, in schools in particular, where maybe you need to get a message out to all the devices right away, but because of some emergency type of measure, those types of things. So all of these things are kind of our favorites. What are we doing about this? Well, what we're looking to do is to leverage a tool called ProductBoard to help us help you help us to work on these feature requests. And to do that, we're giving you the ability to directly give us feedback about things that we've got out there in our backlog, to try to give us feedback, and for us to be able to tie your requests and comments, like things in an email don't necessarily get transferred over to an item that's in Jira, for instance. So we're going to use ProductBoard to help document, share, and record feedback on feature requests and enhancements. And we're also going to use this tool to help us publish roadmaps, which I don't think anybody's going to be too sad about. So we're providing you access to both of those things today. You're going to get access to both a roadmap. In this case, it's a static image for now while we work on a couple of rights access issues. But the feedback portal is totally interactive. I'm going to take a look at that here in a second. In fact, we're going to take a look at that right now. So let me hop out of this presentation real quick, and hopefully you can still see me all right. And let's go take a look at ProductBoard. So I'm going to go over first to the Service Center. So when you go, all of you that are named contacts that can open tickets will have the ability to access our ProductBoard feedback portal. You'll notice in the Support Center now, if you log in there, that you'll see that there's a link here about checking out our new roadmap and product feedback portal features. The product feedback portal is a little more complex, so we're going to look at that second. Let's look at the roadmap first. The roadmap's simple. This is just a knowledge-based article, but it's restricted only to certain folks. So those are our named contacts. So if you can open a support ticket, you'll be able to see this article. And we're just going to zoom in on this image here for just a second. And I just want to kind of go over where this is broken down now. We're going to be talking a little bit later today, in an hour or so, about 14.4 and 14.5 and all the things that are coming in those two releases. And you can also look at those here. But we're also trying to project what we're working on next. And you'll notice this doesn't say 14.6 because it's not actually that defined. We have buckets of work. So you'll see swim lanes here on the left. We've got our Windows team, our Apple/Core team, our web team, and our Google teams, all working on different initiatives. So in these swim lanes, for instance, Windows is working, of course, on some of the Windows MDM integration, but the things that are likely for that team next are additional profiles for Windows MDM. Well, that one's pretty set in stone that we're doing that. So that's probably in kind of the next category. But what's after that? What's after the immediate next? Well, the things that are out there a little bit later are some of the command history, like the things that you can see with Apple when you execute MDM commands. That's not in the product yet, and that's something that we really need to do. So that's probably on our priority. So these things say next and later on purpose to give the idea that they're out there, and these are things that we're actually interested in your feedback on as well. But there's no interaction with this. This is just to give you updated information. This will be updated basically weekly and is driven directly by our product owners and product managers as they change things in the timeline and move things around. Items will move in, will move out of these over time. So you've got access to this, which is the first piece. And kind of a nice piece, I think. But the kind of even nicer piece, I think, is this second, which is this FileWave product suggestions. So I'm going to just shrink that down a bit so we get a little bit more of a window. And this is an integration with ProductBoard directly. So this is showing our ProductBoard portal. And what you'll see is there's a couple of tabs across the top. We may expand these, but basically we try to keep this pretty simple. There are 6 things that show right now under consideration. So for instance, we've got EMM device authentication. That's Android EMM. If we click on that, you'll see a description of what this is. As an admin, I'd like to organize deployments on EMM devices based on who's using the device. Well, if any of you have enrolled an Android device, you know right now that you don't get that information. We do not know who the user is on the device, which means it makes it very difficult to identify who the device belongs to or deliver content to them. So on the Android Google side of things, this is very important for us. Well, let's assume for a second that this was important to me right now, or maybe there's another one that I'd like to look at. Maybe this auto update thing. What is this? So we're going to click on it to find out. Well, this is the concept of controlling VPP file set auto update. So right now, you may or may not be aware that as VPP file sets update, that is on the Apple side, when things update in the store, they automatically then sync down with FileWave about every 5 minutes. And when we see that new metadata, that there's a new version, we immediately start to push that version out. Now that can be a good thing, or maybe for you, it's not such a good thing, and maybe you'd like to control that a little bit more. So in this case, we're talking about the concept of being able to maybe control that behavior, not simply accept that it happens whenever it wants to. So this is open to you right now, and how this works is you can simply say how important this is to you. So if we mouse over these things, we'll see, well, this is a nice to have, meaning, I like it, but it's not really that critical to me. It's important, right? So this is kind of important to our environment, or this is such a great thing. I mean, you can think of critical as like super great, I guess, as well. Depends on how you want to look at it. But let's assume that I said it was critical. I can say this is critical, and then I get the opportunity to actually say something as well, right? Not just to score it, but also say, I really want this feature because we are finding work environment is impacted by daytime updates, something like that. Okay. Now I can't submit yet because I haven't given my email address, but I can throw an email address in there, and then I can go ahead and submit that. Now on the spam side, this will ask you to confirm. So it's going to send you an email for you to confirm that you are who you say you are. And then that's going to register then in the background with us in ProductBoard. Are there any questions on this yet? I'm going to show you here in a second what we do with that. But any questions so far in the chat or anything, Josh?
No, there's not. Except that you should update your Chrome.
Yes, I should do that.
There, okay. It was just a comment. That was it, though.
Okay. All right. So let's go take a look at what that looks like from the back end, right? So as Vasily mentioned before, we're looking to kind of open up operations a little bit and show you kind of the things we're working on. And to do that, I'm going to just show you, we had this presentation this morning, talked about ProductBoard a little bit, shared the links with some of our European colleagues, and some of them put in some ideas, right? So here's a good one. This one from Marcus through the product portal is a brand new idea. Oh, and I did forget that. Let me go back to that real quick. On that page, you'll notice not only are there these cards, right? So you can submit feedback on any of them directly, but there's also a button at the top that allows you to submit an idea that's not one of these cards, right? So it's the same basic concept where you say what it is that you want, but then you need to give us a little detail about what it is you're looking for. And the same kind of submission engine exists for that. So if we go take a look at that on the back end of this, right? So again, just trying to share a little bit of how we're working with this. Marcus has put in information where he would like to see APNS certificate management within the admin application. Now, I think that is a superb request. I'm not sure if anybody else agrees. I suspect you do. That it is kind of a nuisance to go and do this every year, to go into Keychain and create the request and then send it to FileWave and have that signed and then get it back and then take it to Apple and then download it again, right? There are at least pieces of that that would be really good to have. So what we're going to do with this kind of thing on the back end, to give you an idea how we use this information, is I'm probably going to tag this, right? And I might tag this as Apple, and I might tag it as a PNS. Right? And so we can do a couple of tags, and then what else we can do is we can link this, right? So I can link this and say, that's related to APN. So let me just take a look at APN, and look, we do have a feature request for auto-generating APN certs via the admin. And all I'm going to do then is go ahead and link that guy. So this is now linked to this request. And when we're looking at this later, when the product owners, product managers are looking at what we should do, when our marketing folks are looking at what do people, that don't have FileWave yet, what are the features that they're looking for? All of those things are going to come together here in this system. And if we take a look here, we'll see that feedback starts to become collected on the individual entry, where we'll see some scoring information on this. And I don't know that it updated here. I'm not seeing it in there right now. We've got the insights in here. And then we can see that we've got a couple of folks that are asking for this. And this helps us score these things basically and gives us feedback. Mm-hmm. So you should all have access to that now. Please let us know if you're not seeing it. But you should be able to see that help board, and you'll be able to go to these links to take you in the knowledge base. And of course, you can go to the knowledge base directly to get to them as well. So any questions on that?
There were a couple. There was, do ideas need to be approved before they're displayed? And then what happens if there's duplicate feature requests?
Well, we kind of do the work to deduplicate them. And this is where a little bit of what Vasily was talking about before is we really do try to take everything into account and step back and try to coalesce all of them into an idea of how we take things forward. Sorry about my dying dog here in the background. Sorry about that. So the idea is that we take this and look at it holistically of what things we want to do with that. So I'll give you an example. Reboots in the way file sets are handled are really difficult in the way that there's a lot of things basically we'd like to do with reboot file sets that to make them behave differently and give you better options. And there are probably 30 requests along those lines. So what we do is look at all of them together and then try to create an epic in Jira that encapsulates all the best pieces of that to come up with a direction. So we kind of handle that in the background, but there's no worries on the duplication side. If you're submitting something that's already in there, there's no worries on that. The more feedback, the better. In fact, the more people that talk about the same thing, the more clear it is to us that that's something that we want to work on. Other questions?
Nothing else in the chat. Just
okay.
A positive comment that they like the product feedback.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Do they get approved before they're displayed? That just came.
Do they get approved? Well, we can remove them if there's a problem.
Oh no! Like if I was to submit one right now as a customer, would it show up right away, or is there sort of an approval process before it shows up?
It's optional whether we show the new ideas that folks choose. The items that show on the board. So when we're looking at this guy, when we're looking at this, these are items that we specifically internally choose to show here. So they don't automatically get published. So if I look at, I don't think I'm showing right now, we're not showing what others have added for submitting an idea. That is an option, and we could possibly do it, but I'm a little concerned about doing that. But we can see kind of how it goes. And in all of this, we'll probably tweak how we're handling it and what the workflows are like, because we haven't had anything quite like this before. And we're quite excited about it. All right, so let me hop back because I wasn't quite done. There was one more thing that I want to talk about. I want to talk, and Nerdan kind of mentioned this before, but let's talk about what is actually on our near-term horizon beyond the current roadmap and things that we're talking about. And there are two kind of big things. One is a replacement for Observe Client. As Nerdan mentioned, the solution we have, although we have made some changes here recently that I think are making it much more reliable with the way that the connections to Observe Client are made, but it's still, even at its best, it's still a solution that only works on Windows and Mac. And doesn't work on the other platforms. So we are looking at a replacement for Observe Client and expect to hopefully be able to deliver something by end of year on a replacement for Observe Client that is cross-platform, not necessarily the same function on each platform because that's not quite possible, but the ability to at least see each type of operating system that we support. Which is the observe/remote control capability, but also the ability to do chat and video capability that again is platform specific, but really would help on the support side of things as you're remoting into a device. The ability to do whiteboard, to record sessions, to do file transfer, and that's kind of on the on the Observe Client replacement. That's what we have out there. It's kind of the really big thing. And the second one, which is really important to me, and I think really important to the company, and hopefully important to you too, is we sometimes find ourselves in the position of being the shoemaker's children. When it comes to being a cross-platform, unified endpoint management product, we are chasing vendors a lot, right? So when it comes to Microsoft, when it comes to Google, and certainly when it comes to Apple, we're constantly having to make changes to adjust and handle their platforms and the changes that they're making. But we also need to invest in FileWave itself. And that is something that we've probably not done as much in the last couple of years as we should have. So we're also working on really making an investment in FileWave itself. And we're going to talk a little later when we talk about some of the things that we're working on from the product owner perspective about how we're going to do this with relation to looking at performance of the product. And I will say that in 14.5 and actually 14.2 as well, there have been a number of performance and stability things that have been addressed, and so far, at least with 14.2, that's looked very good in the rollout. But we're looking at performance, we're looking at stability, at the scalability of the solution, and then more of a cloud-first mentality, because we are absolutely seeing a shift where we've been obviously for a long time primarily on-prem, where most folks don't really want to run on-prem anymore. And what kinds of changes do we need to make in the product to make that even more cloud-friendly? Works fine in the cloud now, but it could always be better. So these are kind of some of the things that are on our near-term horizon that we're working on. All right, so I don't know if there are any other questions. That is the end of my slide deck, but I'm happy to talk about anything on this particular topic. Has anybody submitted anything? Somebody must have submitted something since we've been here.
There was just one more chat question that was more along the lines of what you were just talking about. If you could say something about your cloud strategy.
I can't speak to that too much. We're working on a couple of new options for that, but that doesn't sit in my purview all that much. Vasily, are you on? Would you like to speak to that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. Just very quickly. So yeah, on the cloud strategy, obviously there's a couple different things that we're working on. We are continuously optimizing the current hosting environment that we have. And you might have heard that currently we are migrating from a VM type of hosting to Kubernetes-based hosting. What it gives us is better automation for us to run the instances and monitor them and offer better service based on Amazon Cloud currently. That's one of the things that we're doing, and we are looking for constant improvements there. What we can do without completely re-engineering the product to make it more scalable and suited for the cloud. That's one of the work that we're continuously doing, the type of work that we're continuously doing. The other direction that we're discovering, of course, is to make sure that we have a lot of requests, particularly in Europe and Asia, for us to be able to deploy that cluster and create instances on independent cloud providers, local cloud providers. So this is another work that we are pursuing as well. And finally, a little bit more mid-term to long-term strategy is how do we upgrade the product to make it really cloud native, right? This is what I alluded to in my presentation when I talked about cloud readiness, because currently their architecture of the product is client server architecture, designed primarily for kind of, I'm struggling with the term. I mean, it's not on-prem, it's probably like a private cloud type of deployment, if you will, but not necessarily this dynamic cloud native horizontal scaling, multi-tenant type of environment that many of you have experienced with some of the vendors that created cloud first type of product. So our goal is to eventually give you all these different options, on-prem, private cloud, hybrid, completely cloud, via containerization and Kubernetes, and make sure that also some of our partners can host instances of FileWave core product on behalf of their customers, right? So we also will be enabling that option. We have a lot of requests there. So if you have some particular use cases you're looking for, please let us know through ProductBoard or directly. We really need your guidance. What are the key features that you guys are missing?
Well, and part of that as well is there's a quite a bit of effort going on to streamline, not that that's important for any of you who already have FileWave, but to streamline the initial onboarding process for those who are new to FileWave. So we're working on some efforts there too, to try to make that process easier and a little more seamless than with all the steps that are there currently. So there's a couple of things going on that front that we're excited about. And I don't know if you saw what I was typing in here afterwards, but a little teaser. We're going to talk about this particular request here in an hour. So if there are no other questions, I think we're going to break.
There was one more.
Yeah.
There was one more quick one, which might be for me. Will Fileway Foundry be updated?
Yes,
So,
it definitely needs to be. Part of the problem there is we've been waiting to get kind of critical mass on the web admin side of things, because that's where things are moving to try to be able to update the content in the Foundry and not be doing it twice for something that's in the middle and then afterwards. But we're both getting to that tipping point, which you'll see in an hour here. We're going to be talking about some specific stuff on the web admin side that I'm pretty happy about, and I think you will be too. And yes, Josh, one of Josh's main things is to work on updating the Foundry.
and that was the last thing.
Okay, all right. So I think we're going to break for lunch, and I know we just had a break, but nobody had time to get lunch. So we'll break for lunch. We'll be back at 1 hour. I believe it's at 1 Eastern. Is that correct? I think so.
It is. It's at 1 Eastern.
Okay, and we're going to give a little overview, a little bit of a sneak peek of version 14.5, which has got some really good stuff in it. We're going to talk about some of the changes that we're making on the development kind of schedule, and then Josh and his team are going to do some training there a little bit later in the afternoon. So thank you for joining us so far, and we hope you didn't scare you away here, and you'll join us again in an hour. Thanks so much.